A poor girl tells Billionaire. No one cares about her birthday. His response warms everyone's heart. The afternoon sun filtered through the tall windows of Corner Cafe, creating golden patches of warmth on the worn wooden tables where the lunch crowd had thinned to just a few lingering customers. David Harrison sat in his usual corner booth, laptop open, reviewing quarterly reports for Harrison Technologies while enjoying the cafe's peaceful atmosphere. Despite being worth billions, David preferred this humble neighborhood diner to fancy restaurants. It reminded him of simpler times, before success had complicated his life in ways he was still learning to navigate. At a small table near the window, a young girl sat alone with a coloring book and a glass of water that had been refilled several times by Sarah, the kind waitress who seemed to know every regular customer's story. The girl appeared to be about 8 years old with dark hair, pulled back in a practical ponytail and clothes that were clean but clearly hand-me-downs. She colored with intense concentration, her tongue poking out slightly as she carefully stayed within the lines. David found himself glancing at the girl periodically, struck by how solitary she seemed. In all his visits to Corner Cafe over the past few months, he had never seen her with an adult or even speaking to other customers. She would arrive around 3:30 each weekday, order only water, and sit quietly working on her coloring books until nearly 5 o'clock. Today, something seemed different about the girl's demeanor. Instead of her usual focused contentment, she appeared subdued, almost melancholy. She had abandoned her coloring book and was instead staring out the window with the kind of wistful expression that seemed far too heavy for such a young face. Sarah approached the girl's table with her characteristic gentleness. "How are you doing today, Emma? You seem a little quiet." Emma Harrison, though David didn't yet know they shared a last name, looked up with green eyes that seemed to hold too much sadness. "I'm okay, Miss Sarah. Just thinking about stuff." "What kind of stuff?" Sarah asked, sliding into the opposite chair with the easy familiarity of someone who had clearly had many conversations with this child. Emma was quiet for a long moment, carefully choosing her words. "Today is my birthday," she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. "Your birthday?" Sarah's face lit up with excitement. "Emma, that's wonderful. Are you having a party? What did you wish for when you blew out your candles?" The questions, asked with such genuine enthusiasm, seemed to make Emma shrink further into herself. "I didn't have candles," she said quietly. "Or a cake. My grandmother forgot it was my birthday again. She's been forgetting a lot of things lately since she got sick." Sarah's expression shifted to one of gentle concern. "What about your parents, sweetheart?" "I don't have any parents," Emma replied matter-of-factly, with the practiced ease of a child who had answered this question many times. "It's just me and Grandma Margaret. But she's in the hospital again, and the people at the foster home are really busy with all the other kids." David, who had been trying to focus on his laptop, found himself listening intently to the conversation despite himself. The girl's calm acceptance of her circumstances was heartbreaking in its resignation. "I understand why no one remembered," Emma continued, speaking more to herself than to Sarah. "There are so many important things happening, and I'm just not very important, I guess. It's okay. I'm used to birthdays being regular days." The simple acceptance in her voice, the way she tried to make others feel better about forgetting her special day, hit David like a physical blow. He closed his laptop and found himself standing before he had consciously decided to move. "Excuse me," he said, approaching Emma's table with what he hoped was a reassuring smile. "I couldn't help but overhear. Did you say, today is your birthday?" Emma looked up at him with curiosity rather than fear. "Yes, sir. I'm 8 years old. Today." 8 years old, David repeated, sitting down at the table after Emma nodded permission. "That's a very important birthday. 8 is when you start to really understand the world around you." "I don't feel very important," Emma said honestly. Most kids have parties with friends and family. I don't really have friends, and my family is just my grandmother, and she's too sick to remember things like birthdays. David felt his heart clench at the matter-of-fact way this child described her isolation. Can I tell you something, Emma? Sometimes the most important people are the ones who think they're not important at all. Emma tilted her head, considering this. What do you mean? Well, David said, settling more comfortably in his chair. You come here every day after school, don't you? And you're always polite to Sarah? Always color quietly? Never cause any trouble? Emma nodded, unsure where this was leading. Do you know that Sarah talks about you to the other customers? She calls you my sweet Emma and tells people how well-behaved and kind you are. You've made her days brighter just by being yourself. Sarah, who had been listening to this conversation with growing emotion, nodded enthusiastically. He's absolutely right, Emma. You're one of my favorite parts of working here. Emma's eyes widened slightly as if this possibility had never occurred to her. Really? Really, David continued. And I bet there are other people whose days you've made better without even realizing it. That's what important people do. They make the world a little brighter just by being in it. Emma was quiet, for a moment processing this new perspective. But I still didn't have a birthday party. Well, David said, checking his watch with theatrical concern, it's only 4 o'clock. The day isn't over yet. He pulled out his phone and made a quick call. Hi, this is David Harrison. I need you to do something special for me, and I need it done within the next hour. He paused, listening. Yes, I know it's short notice, but this is important. Emma watched with growing curiosity as David gave detailed instructions to someone on the other end of the line. Sarah had moved to the next booth to give them privacy, but remained close enough to keep an eye on the situation. Emma, David said, after ending his call, I have a very important question to ask you. If you could have the perfect birthday party, what would it look like? Emma's face scrunched up in concentration. I don't really know. I've never had a birthday party before. Well, let's figure it out together. What's your favorite color? Purple, Emma answered immediately. Favorite kind of cake? I like chocolate, but I've only had it a few times. Favorite thing to do? Emma thought carefully. I like to draw and color, and I like animals, but I don't have any pets. David nodded, taking mental notes. What about friends? If you could invite anyone to your birthday party, who would it be? Emma's face fell slightly. I don't really have friends. The kids at school think I'm weird because I don't have parents and my clothes aren't new. And the kids at the foster home are all dealing with their own problems. What about Miss Sarah? David suggested gently. She seems like a good friend to me. Emma's face brightened. Miss Sarah is my friend. She always remembers how I like my water with extra ice, and she never makes me feel bad for not ordering food. For the next hour, David and Emma talked about everything and nothing. He learned that she was incredibly bright, reading at a level far above her age, but struggled in school because she often missed classes when her grandmother had medical emergencies. She loved art, but rarely had supplies beyond the basic crayons and coloring books that the foster home provided. Most heartbreakingly, she had learned to expect so little from life that even the smallest kindnesses surprised her. At exactly 5 o'clock, a group of people began arriving at Corner Cafe. First came a woman carrying an enormous purple birthday cake decorated with colorful flowers and Happy 8th Birthday, Emma, written in elegant script. Then came a man with purple balloons and streamers, followed by another woman carrying wrapped presents. Emma stared in amazement as the cafe was quickly transformed into a birthday party venue. Other customers, rather than being annoyed by the disruption, began clapping and singing Happy Birthday as the decorations went up. I don't understand, Emma whispered to David. Is this really for me? Happy birthday, Emma, David said gently. Every 8-year-old deserves to feel special on their birthday. As Emma stood on her chair to blow out the 8 candles on her cake, Sarah standing beside her with tears in her eyes, the entire cafe erupted in cheers. Other customers had stayed past their usual departure times to witness this impromptu celebration, and several had even contributed small gifts. A coloring book here, a pack of crayons there. "Make a wish, sweetheart," Sarah encouraged. Emma closed, her eyes tight, thought for a moment, then blew out all 8 candles in one breath. When she opened her eyes, they were bright with unshed tears of joy. "What did you wish for?" David asked. Emma smiled, the first truly happy expression he had seen from her all afternoon. "I wish that someday I could make other kids feel as special as you made me feel today." David felt his own eyes fill with tears. This remarkable child who had been given so little was already thinking about how she could give to others. Over the next 2 hours, Emma experienced her first real birthday party. She opened presents, art supplies, books, a stuffed purple elephant that immediately became her treasured companion. She ate birthday cake until her stomach hurt. She played simple games with the Café C,